Hello, Media Telecom followers. We are here today with Marcus Weldon, who is the Chief Technology Officer of Alcatel-Lucent and the actual director of Bell Labs, who is going to talk us about today about its new book, The Future X Network, that was presented like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so can we tell us about your book? What are the things that you are predicting there, or what is it about?
Yeah, the book is about a very exciting time ahead of us. We think we're on the verge of what we call a technological revolution. And there have not been many. There have only been 5 in the modern era. Starting in the 1700s with banking and finance has been the first revolution that reinvented how finance was done with stocks and bonds, and agricultural revolution, and then industrial revolutions. And the latest was the information age, which was the internet. We think we're about to enter a new era, the era of the automation of everything. And that's really what the book's about. The book is about how to enable that era and what that era will look like, not only in terms of human experience, but also how markets will change as a result of this new era coming. And so we talk about the cloud moving into the network. We talk about devices becoming hosted in the network, and analytics and security functions hosted in the network. And what we will do through all that magic, we will enable the automation of everything. Every process, everything you do in life, whether it's at work or home, will become analyzed and automated and delivered to you as the perfect service just when you need it, wherever you are. And that's sort of the idea of the Future X Network. We think of it as the digital fabric of the future, and it's very exciting that the network is going to be the foundation of the future, like it was in the internet era. In 1999, networks were the big thing. We're getting to an era where the network is the big thing again, because it becomes the digital fabric of a technological revolution.
Okay, great. And what are the role of telecom operators in this new era? There are today's operator networks, but there are also coming new provider services in internet. So, how they all be, converged maybe in this new era?
So the interesting part of this new era is we see 2 winners. The global companies, essentially think of them as web-like. They offer a global service. But local becomes very important in this new era, because in fact the way you deliver the massive scale analytics, the interactivity of cloud-hosted services that are, managing things like, remote surgery or flying drones or connected cars, or even just your virtual set-top box or your virtual CPU or your virtual watch will all be hosted in a cloud that's very local, because you need to be very interactive with these services. If you think about, touching something or changing the channel or interacting with something on human timescales, that generally means you have to be only 1 or 2 or maybe 10 milliseconds away, and 10 milliseconds means you have to be close. And it's actually fun because the speed of light ends up becoming important, and the number of hops in a network becomes important. So you have to be very close to enable this very interactive world hosted in the cloud. And so we think network operators have real estate that's very local. They call them central offices. But if we take central offices and convert them into data centers, telcos become hosting providers for new cloud services. And that's a very interesting new reality. So their power now is not just the network. And you could argue the network had become a bit commoditized, and the web scale companies had taken the value. But in fact, in the new reality, web scale companies will have value, but actually the local guys will be the hosting, delivery guys, maybe even doing analytics and providing security around these new services. So there's a better balance in the industry, we think, is going to appear. Global local will become an alliance, not a competition.
What will be the essential factors to have a 5G network in the next maybe like 4 years? Is there a real probability that we'll see a 5G network?
There is. Recently, Verizon in the US announced that they would be deploying 5G in 2017. So trials in 2016 and deployment in 2017, and Korea are hosting the Winter Olympics in 2018, and they've already said that they'll be doing a 5G live network in 2018. So in the next 2 to 3 years, we're actually going to be seeing the early versions of 5G out there. You'll be able to experience them. Yes, it'll be about connecting everything, things, people. It'll be using licensed and unlicensed spectrum, using it all together in a holistic way. Think of 5G as not being about one frequency or one technology, but about all frequencies and all technologies, and using them optimally, so you feel like, the phrase we use is, you feel like you have infinite capacity. You of course don't have infinite capacity, but you feel like you do. So every person, every application will feel like it's got the capacity it needs. And that's what you're going to start experiencing in 2017 in the US, in Korea, and then probably a year or so afterwards in the rest of the world.
So how will the chain value will change with these new networks, with this near future? What will be the roles of new operators, of new provider services? What could we see in the future?
Yeah, in the future I think you'll see two types of providers. The global providers will provide the service. Think of it as your life management, your automation service, your device management, maybe it's an education service, a healthcare service, financial service, social service. All of those will be global, but they will be delivered locally, which is the interesting part. And the local provider of that service, which, think of that, taking the application and running it locally. So the brand might be global, but the service will be run locally. And because it's run locally, it'll be contextualized for you. So the local provider will be responsible for contextualizing the service, making it appropriate for you, not just the global anonymous individual, but the global provider will probably create the service. In some ways we say the global company will have the digital value platform. Think of Uber and Airbnb. What do they have? Do they have cars? Do they have hotel rooms? No, they don't. They have a value platform that allows you to host a service, exchange value. That's what the global companies will do. But the actual delivery is quite local. In the end, it's a car, it's a room, it's a physical thing, it's a delivery of a digital good that you want locally delivered to you. So the local providers do the delivery and the contextualization. The global providers have the, if you want, the digital value platform, and that's how we see the future unfolding.
And what is today? What's the things that Bell Labs is doing today for this future?
Of course, we're doing everything. That would have to be my answer. No, the book actually describes everything Bell Labs is working on to enable this future. So we're looking at very local access with very high capacity. Think of a gigabit per second over wireless per user. Not on average, but per user. That's what we're working on. We're trying to bring wireline and wireless even closer together so that you'll have a choice. If you're connected over a wire or wireless, you could be connected over DSL or cable, it doesn't matter. We're blurring the boundaries between those access technologies. We're inventing new ways to manage IP and optics so it can dynamically respond to demand patterns. We're working on edge cloud to have very low latency cloud infrastructure using optical technologies and sophisticated SDN and virtualization techniques. So we're working in many dimensions. But interestingly, we're also working on analytics to understand what people want. And you think, well, why does Bell Labs work on analytics? Well, most of the information that's valuable is about location and time. If you think about many of the web services that are popular today, they track your location as a function of time and then match it to a map. Location and time are what the operator has, and so we work on technologies that will take location time information and infer what you might want to do with whom, where you're going. And so we also work on sophisticated analytics to understand your needs and help automate your life, not just the underlying infrastructure, but actually try and automate human existence. So, and of course in the far out, we also work on quantum computing. So that's in the background, we work on quantum computing because in the end that's also an important technique to optimize how you compute some of these complicated answers and do some of this optimization. So we work on things like quantum computing, but it's all in the book.
Okay, great. That seems a pretty ambitious goal. So, what will be the role also of Bell Labs under the lead of Nokia that today Alcatel and Lucent are coming together?
Yeah, so I think you can see from the publicly announced Nokia information that they think Bell Labs is probably the primary innovation brand in the industry. The history of Bell Labs has been around for 90 years, and we've won 8 Nobel Prizes. The last one was last year. We continue to invent the future. We invented vectoring, which is how DSL is now doing hundreds of megabits or gigabit per second. We invented coherent technology for optics, which is why optics is now running at 100 gig, 200 gig, maybe even 400 gig soon. We invented parts of SDN, new virtualization techniques. So Bell Labs is doing an awful lot to enable this new future, and Nokia recognizes that and has already said that Bell Labs will be a cornerstone of their innovation engine. And I think it's very exciting because we'll be a bigger company. Bigger company means you can afford more research, and maybe your ambition even gets bigger. And so I think it'll be a very good era for Bell Labs.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Well, we are here in FutureCom.